Hi everyone, it's Spramani with Nature of Art, and I want to talk about setting up a Montessori art shelf for today. And what you're looking at here is a shelf that I've prepared for beginning line drawing lessons and doodling, and I want to show you some of the materials I have. So I have on the top shelf here, I've got a really cool illustration of some wiggly lines. I'll tell you where that was inspired in a minute. I have a basket of paint sticks, which are easy to use for little hands and people who are just learning to draw and control lines. I've got a little tray back here of different types of paper, watercolor drawing paper, some fun round paper. I've got two of my favorite books that teach and introduce lines, which is my absolute favorite, Harold and the Purple Crayon and Lines That Wiggle. These are two books that I use all the time when I'm introducing line lessons, just to get kids to pay attention and understand what I mean by line. I've got a bowl of my handcrafted crayons here. These are called color blocks. I've got a drawing tray here, which is a graphite pencil, which is a soft lead, and an eraser. Some chunky color pencils that are easy to glide for little hands. I've got a magnifying glass to investigate closely lines in different books. So that is, if you don't know, I call this my inspiration shelf. I actually have a training on how to stage an Montessori art shelf, which is a proprietary system that I created for Montessori schools internationally. I dive deeply into what that top art shelf means and why it's very important and critical for engagement. And then down on the bottom here, I've got 4 trays set up, and these are to isolate colors and movement. So in this container here, I have some purple, a purple block crayon and a paint stick and some drawing paper. And that really is just to introduce my lines exercises that I have in my drawing curriculum, just isolating one color and the movements of practicing basic lines. And then on this tray here, I'm introducing a different color, but then I'm introducing the idea of color value and letting children see different values. And then down at the bottom shelf, I have this really cool template where I'm introducing drawing lines into a shape, and I have this really cool template, which is a star template the children can hold down and trace, and they learn how to trace and create a line shape. I have multiple different shapes of these. I have circles, squares, triangles, really fun stuff. You can find these on my website. And I have here some markers in this container here, and then I have an inset. Now you may not have an inset, and that's okay. You don't need to have one. You could replace this with a paper plate, which I have right here. I'm going to put it right in front so you can see what I mean. You can use a paper plate to hold down and trace, so you can replace that inset. If you would like to rent insets, I do know of a vendor who rents Montessori materials for Montessori at home students, so you can reach out to me and I'll direct you to that. So this is my drawing station. Now this can change out to be a lot of different things, but I wanted to share what I mean by just, preparing trays and getting them focused on drawing elements. And I do have a lot of information in my blogs and my curriculum and my books. I am the author of Montessori Art Guide for Early Childhood and the Elementary Art Guide for Secondary. So you can check all those out on my website. But if you want to learn more about staging an art shelf, that's really the focus of this information here. Is I do have a 1-hour training. It's a pre-recording training that I've done and been selling for years. You can check that out, but it gives you the foundations of my system and how to prepare properly a Montessori art shelf and why it's important to prepare it in this fashion. Reach out to me if you have more questions. I hope that was helpful, and love to hear some feedback or questions.